to Storyboard. I'm Shabani Gharat. After creating fun campaigns with Sara and Saif Ali Khan, Circuit and Munna Bhai, Acko has now partnered with R Madhavan as their voice of the customer to simplify complex insurance questions and help customers make informed decisions. Through this partnership, Acko wants to ensure that its customers can rely on the brand for a transparent and dependable insurance experience. Madhavan's role as voice of customer is to be the customer's advocate and guide, simplifying the complex world of insurance for the consumers. To tell us more about this, today on the show we have R Madhavan himself along with Varun Dua, founder of Acko.
Madhavan, Varun Dua, welcome to CNBC TV18.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's begin the conversation with you, Maddie, if I may say so. Tell us about your association with Acko, and you are the voice of consumer now for Acko. Tell us more about this.
You know, from when we were in kids, insurance has always been a mandatory aspect of our lives. You know, it's been made to sound like, you know, you have to have insurance for certain things, and it wasn't looked at as a convenience, more of a compulsion, right? And I, you know, that was a distinct opinion that I had about insurance. Then you realize that amongst all the stories and movies you saw, that insurance was something that was highly unreliable. You know, you dhar dhar bhatakte rahoge before you get your money back. You know, that has been the general opinion about insurance when I was a kid. And then when we had to take vehicular insurance, we always looked at it as a pain. कि जबरदस्ती लेना पड़ेगा यार. Accident होने के बाद पता नहीं कौन देगा. गाड़ी ठीक होने के बाद insurance वाला आता नहीं है. So it was always considered a very futile effort. Okay, and all that you know, is a baggage that I carried when I had to talk about insurance. It's only when I started keeping a vehicle and, you know, it actually got a scratch or got dented and we gave it for insurance that we realized that there is a need for them to pay. But jumping through the hoops was so painful that most of the time you just got a small job done on your own before you even went to insurance, because the fear was, next time जाएंगे तो insurance बढ़ जाएगा because you have this. हाँ, so ये सब झंझट कौन लेगा, ऐसे भी मजबूरी में लेना पड़ेगा, you know. So let's take their insurance and keep it. Why increase the value? You know, you're never going to get. It's only when I started speaking and I started having a conversation with Varun and Acko and other people, and I started getting, let us say, more expensive cars where the repairs were actually considerable, that I realized what insurance are supposed to do, what they're actually doing, and how convenient or inconvenient it is. When I spoke to Varun, I realized that there was a completely dramatically new approach to insurance. You know, they were working first and foremost without any agent. That itself put me, you know, that gave me the jitters, because I'm like, now you don't even have a face to talk to. How are we going to get that insurance, right? But the way they are structured, the way Varun explained it to me with his entire team about how, you know, Acko looks at insurance in a completely different light, makes it much more convenient for the consumer. And a line that really had me hook, line, and sinker was that it's completely in the interest of the insurance company to pay for, you know, bona fide and valid claims, because that's when their brand equity goes up and that's when they actually get more, let us say, successful. So, and then I started looking into it and I was very keen to see how I could associate. And the approach that Varun had was so scientific that it kind of appealed to me completely.
Yeah. So now, since you mentioned there's no face online when it comes to dealing with insurance, and Varun, now you have a face to address these questions. Also, tell us, how is this association with Madhavan going to pan out in the coming days? How will consumers stand to benefit? What is in it for them? If you can share some insights on those.
There is only so much that you can do with doing a 30-second ad and trying to explain to people how this could work for them and so on and so forth. And what we needed was something or someone or some way to explain to customers what they needed to do, what they need to watch out for, how will we ensure that their claims will come through. Because frankly, if we don't pay them, we're not going to get anywhere as a company, right? But customers need to be responsible about making the right choices and how to decide their own coverages and what to do at the point of claim and so on and so forth. And this explanation, truthfully, of what is right, what is wrong for them, needed to be brought out to the customer. And we needed somebody who could deliver that message after genuinely understanding what we are doing. and delivering that message to consumers, being that voice of the customer, looking at it from their perspective. Claim मिलेगा क्यों नहीं मिलेगा, अगर आप ये करोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा, ये coverage लोगे तो ये होगा. These are the pros and cons of the choices that you're making. Now, to be able to deliver this, we needed authenticity. We needed somebody people could trust. We needed somebody who will, pardon me for saying this, but who had that cerebral quality. I trust what's coming from them. They're a thinking person. You know, they're not just, you know, somebody who's doing a dance in a Bollywood movie, if I may say so. So Madhavan appealed to us so much. Maddie appealed to us so much as this personality who could be that voice of the customer, deliver the message to them. And also at some level, as our interactions with him have grown, Maddie have grown, the amount of questions we get fired back, which we need to respond to, because he's not happy to taking anything to consumers, which he doesn't understand himself. So that keeps us right on that moral compass, if I can call it so. So it's going to be an interesting association, I think, as he becomes the voice of the customer and explains to them what we are trying to do.
So he is very much involved, in this initiative, and not just like a mere brand ambassador. Maddie, what are the kind of questions that you have asked these guys?
See, this is an association that got me really excited, right? So you wanted to know why I'll be representing the consumer, right?
Yeah, because
There
you
are a lot
don't
of
do so many brand associations on a regular basis. I mean, I haven't seen you in like every second ad, as Varun pointed out, every other Bollywood celebrity that you keep on seeing in every second ad.
I think as we go along, it's going to become a big, huge responsibility for the celebrity to be able to endorse something that is worthy and something that he can relate to or is a representation of him. Okay, and and I think that the spirit of Acko and the way that Varun and his entire team are wanting to see this new venture in terms of how they're operating insurance as a module is something that I relate to completely. Okay, now what do I mean by that? For instance, if you're saying there is no face, how do I see my claim? Okay, how do I know what to do when an accident happens? Okay, I'm telling you, even you today, if you were coming to the office and you had a car accident on the way, you will have no clue what to do. कि गाड़ी साइड में रोकें, फोटो निकालें, पुलिस वाले को बुलाएं, इंश्योरेंस के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा, who do you have to call, which is the number you have to call, will my insurance be void if I don't take pictures? All these questions are there, okay? And not only with with vehicular insurance, with life insurance, with everything else that Acko is covering. So my job is to ask him the kind of questions that a common man will ask before having to choose between Acko or any other insurance, or before wanting to choose insurance in the first place that is not mandatory. So, very few people actually are happily going to choose insurance because nobody wants to invite bad times. But sometimes it's a very intelligent thing to do. So, for example, a lot of people don't know that if you take a large claim, medical insurance, for instance, and you lie on your questionnaire about the kind of discomforts or the kind of disorders that you have, then you could be in a much bigger soup when you generally have a health problem, suddenly realizing that your claim cannot be met simply because you lied. So you have to be frank so that you get a proper insurance that covers you. So all these kind of questions that I really thought that common man will have and I will have, I kept firing at them. And they had the most astonishing answers for me. And it really looked so convenient. It looked like, for example, if your vehicle unfortunately gets into an accident and it's you can take it to any store that's been approved by Acko or that they approve of. Then you get an update on your phone exactly as to what is happening, what is the cost being spent, what is the situation of your car, and when is it likely to come back to you. I wish I had all this when I first bought my car, because then driving would have become such an easy job, and you don't have to worry about other people's stupidity to get you into trouble.
What are some of the things that you learned out of this association? Because, at the beginning of the conversation, you rightly pointed out, sometimes even when you meet with an accident or there's a small dent on the car, you don't want to put it to insurance with the fear that, the next premium will be much higher as compared to the current one. So if you can share with us, what are some of the things that you learned out of, this association, some of the myths that Acko burst for you?
So let me just give you one. There are many such things, but let me give the most obvious one, right? All of us think that the insurance company saves money by not honoring the insurance. Whereas Acko team explained to me that it is in their interest to actually pay for the genuine claims so that the equity goes up and the reliability of the company goes up. They make more money as a company that is functioning properly and efficiently, as opposed to them trying to save a few bucks here and there by not giving into claims. That was the first thing. So when you realize that an insurance company actually gains by giving you money when you have a unwanted situation, the trust factor increases. There are many such things that I learned over a period of time.
Before we go, Varun, over the past couple of months, we have seen some good campaigns coming from Acko. Of course, there was the Circuit Munna Bhai campaign that we saw, in the recent past, which was released almost a month and a half ago. There was a Sara Ali Khan, Saif Ali Khan combination. So tell us more, how are all of these efforts, paying off over the past couple of months for Acko overall?
No, I think some of them, both the Sara campaign and the Munna Bhai campaign have been brilliant. I think we've recorded the highest amount of interest in our products and in our brand over the last 4 years. It's just the timing has been brilliant for us. I think such kind of campaigns really, of course, highlight the brand. But they give you that kind of attention that the brand seeks in some form. They create a lot of inquisitiveness about the brand. More people wanted to come and check you out. I think that they've done a very, very good job of. Now we are hoping with Maddie, we get those customers over the line in terms of making the right choices.
All the best for that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Maddie. Thanks, Varun. Thanks for joining us.
You're very kind. Thank you so very much.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we are in conversation with Santosh Kumar, Country Manager for India, Sri Lanka, Maldives and Indonesia, Booking.com, on their association with ICC and how have the past few weeks with the festive season marrying the World Cup panned out for the brand. Welcome back. Being the official accommodation booking partner for ICC's Men's Cricket World Cup 2023 has worked well for the brand, says Santosh Kumar, Country Manager for India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Indonesia, Booking.com. He is speaking to us about their association with cricket and ICC and other sports and how are Indians travelling today, key travel predictions for 2024 and much more. Listen in.
First of all, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you, Shivani, for having me.
How has your association with this entire one-day international World Cup that is happening in India been for Booking.com? First of all, what were your business expectations and how much of the expectations have been met out of this tournament?
Yeah, look, I think the partnership with ICC is sort of a continuing one for us in terms of our focus on sports tourism in general as a company. And if you see sort of some of the investments we've been making over the last few years, we've sort of zeroed in on a few priority markets globally for us. And that has meant also sort of focusing on a few priority, let's say, sports that are popular in those parts of the world. So some examples I can give you: in the US, we're focusing on Major League Baseball. We're doing the Super Bowl ads for a couple of years now. In Europe, we've been doing the UEFA Soccer League as well as Eurovision. And then more relevant to Asia Pacific, we've done the FIFA Women's World Cup earlier this year. That was in Australia, New Zealand. Yeah. And also the partnership with ICC, International Cricket Council, has been an ongoing one for the last 5 years, where we've partnered with them on all their events across the world. So, that means all cricket playing nations, wherever that has a focus. And specifically for these World Cups, the highest priorities are sort of India, obviously, because most of the eyeballs, 90% plus fans of cricket globally are located in India. Plus, additionally, we have a few, let's say, focus markets like Australia and New Zealand as well as in Europe, it'll be England. So it's kind of, it's helping us in all of those markets. For ICC specifically, I would say, it's kind of on the back of also what we aim to do in India, right? So India, if you look at it, India is sort of really at an inflection point with all of the key leading indicators coming through very nicely, whether it's the GDP, whether it is our demographics, with our young population, whether it is the rising cohort of Gen Z and tier 2, tier 3 markets, internet penetration, smartphone penetration, all of this is, great news for an e-commerce company like us. And so therefore, for us, it made a lot of sense to focus on cricket, which is probably the number one, preference for most Indians. And I would say that so far we've been very happy with the way things have gone, right? And so we are sort of looking at both, in addition to in-stadia advertising and fan campaigns, we've also been, making the most of it, I would say, off the pitch, through our TV commercial, through, social media campaigns, things like that. So overall, I would say very, very happy with the way things have gone.
And how successful has the partnership been in terms of return on investment? What is the impact on the business that you have seen in the country and in the region?
I would say that in all host cities, we've seen a sort of a spike in demand. So if you look at our searches that we have observed, across the board, especially the matches where India has played and also some of the other high ticket games, we've seen a definite increase in demand, demonstrated by the searches that we are seeing on the platform. We've also seen an increase in the inbound as well as domestic flight bookings, right? So to give you a sense, overall inbound flight bookings are up about 15% year over year, the same period, right? That also factors in a little bit the organic growth as well that the market is seeing, because obviously India is growing as well, and we're seeing an increase in that. So it augurs pretty well, right? Because when I compare with sort of what the inbound traffic into the country has been otherwise over the course of the year, I would say definitely during this period we've seen a spurt.
What are some of the key trends that you're observing, in this extended festive period that started in August with Independence Day and Raksha Bandhan and up to Diwali, because this is also a time when Indians travel. So how are Indians traveling during this festive, marrying this entire cricketing season that the country is going through?
The travel combined with the Cricket World Cup combined with the festivals has really led to a spurt in travel, both in tier 1 cities as well as tier 2 cities. We've also observed that there are different segments of accommodation that are benefiting from this. So it's not just the traditional hotels, but it's also some of the alternate accommodation, whether it is homestays, villas, bed and breakfast, etc. They're also benefiting because in a lot of cities, the supply is a bit constrained when it comes to traditional hotel supply, right? Yes. So that has led to, spillover into demand for the alternate accommodation segment, which is great news overall for the industry, because it's also helping those micro entrepreneurs. It is helping give back to the local communities. It's leading to people traveling more authentically, right, where they're experiencing local cultures and cuisines, etc. So we've seen all of that. We've also seen, a couple of other things. In fact, we put out a recent How India Travels report. This was in partnership with McKinsey, as well as we put out another, a travel confidence index a little earlier in the year, where we saw that, Indians in general, there are a couple of other trends I wanted to highlight, right? Indians in general, one, are traveling more for experiences, right? They want to be able to travel to off-grid locations, tier 2, tier 3 locations. And then the other one is the rise of responsible travel. So they all want to travel more sustainably. So if given a choice, people will want more sustainable options, but they're not necessarily willing to pay more for it, at least at this point in time, right? So I think it's a trend that we will have to kind of observe, wait and watch to see. It's also dependent on the industry in terms of how accommodation suppliers, airline suppliers can come together to help people travel more responsibly. But undoubtedly, we are at the beginning of that kind of trend, I would say.
Yeah. And how has the past 1 year fared for, especially India market over the past 1 year? How has it fared for Booking.com? Also, you just completed 1 year at Booking.com. So what has the past 1 year been like for you?
Action-packed, Shivani. The industry, if you see the trajectory, right, over the last 3 years or so, the industry has been through a lot. 2020 and 2021 was arguably a couple of the worst years as far as travel and tourism were concerned. But 2022 and this year as well, we've seen a significant return back, right? It helped to a large extent that people had a lot of discretionary spend that they had saved. We saw people traveling, taking more trips last year in 2022 than they would, take in a normal year prior to the pandemic. And that has continued to a large extent in 2023, right? Despite prices increasing across the board. I would have to say that my journey, I kind of entered booking at a time where obviously things were again coming back on the up. And it's been action-packed because we've really benefited by going back to the basics in terms of focusing on our partner relationships. We've built up some really strong relationships in this particular market. We really owe it to our partners across the board, across all segments. We have started to invest a lot more in India now. So, we are investing in, we have Hindi now, which is launched on the website and the app. We want to be able to be more relevant to the Indian consumers outside of the metro cities as well. We have a great brand name, but not a lot of Indians outside these metro cities are still aware of us, right? So we have a lot of work left to do, I would say, in terms of making sure that our brand name is better recognized, across the country. And that is
investment in advertising also going forward, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so we've always been very big on digital marketing, right? So we are one of the biggest spenders on, I would say, when it comes to social media, Google in general, right? Over the years, we've always done that. But in the last few years, there has been a little bit of a shift also toward brand marketing. Because we recognize that brand marketing is also very important. So therefore, these investments in sports tourism, in the LGBTQ plus segment, which we are also investing in a few priority markets globally. And I'm sure this is only the beginning, right? We will hopefully continue to do more as far as the brand marketing is concerned, because we recognize that ultimately both digital and brand is very important if we want to continue to be, top of mind for the Indian consumer.
Yeah, and of course, association with the likes of Rohit Sharma and that entire on-ground presence that we have seen for booking would definitely help this cause. Going forward, Santosh, what are some of the key trends that you are seeing or you're foreseeing for 2024?
Yeah, I think, I think as far as the next quarter or so is concerned, and in fact, we just released our last quarter earnings report. And the numbers continue to be very strong, right? When I look at also what is on the books for at least the next few months, travel demand continues to be strong. And we are not seeing people sort of trading down just yet. What I mean by that is somebody who was staying, let's say, at a 5-star hotel previously continues to stay at a 5-star hotel, right? They're not suddenly spending less and going and staying at a 4-star hotel, right? So as of now, consumer sentiment is still strong. But having said that, I also know, having studied economics in business school, ultimately there's the law of supply and demand, right? So if prices continue to increase as they are at the moment, at some point it might have a knock-on effect on the consumer. As of now, we are not seeing that yet, Shivani, right? But I would say the outlook for 2024 is kind of, we're cautiously optimistic.
That's what even the media planners and buyers are saying about marketers spending in this economy. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Shivani. Pleasure.
And now it's time for this week's notice board. In a unique move to make washing hands more relevant and a cool thing to do with youngsters, Savalon's Swachh India mission has brought together the talented children of the Dharavi Dream Project and a popular rap artist, Emiwe Bantai, to present Haath Dhona Cool Hai, an anthem that taps into the hip-hop culture to encourage hand hygiene amongst young Indians. Let's take a look.
Yo, what's up? क्या बोल दी कंपनी? एमवे बंटाई सैवलॉन के साथ लेके आए लो स्वस्थ इंडिया मिशन। तो चलो इस लेजेंडरी हिप हॉप एक्शन को हैक करते और हाथ धोते। तैयार है कि नहीं पब्लिक? चलो हैंड वॉश करने का और स्वस्थ रहने का। हैंड वॉश करना कूल, पहले जान ले उसूल। खाना खाने से पहले और लू जाने के बाद भूल मत, हाथ धोना कूल है। धोया कि नहीं हाथ धोना कूल है। क्यों क्यों? क्योंकि कीटाणु से बचाएंगे, बीमारी से मचाएंगे, नचाएंगे सब लोगों को आसानी से। हैंड रब करो रबर जैसा साबुन और पानी से। इंस्पायर होगी ये दुनिया एक दिन तेरे कहानी से। हाथ धोना कूल है,
एक नंबर भाई।
हाथ धोना कूल है। समझ में आया क्या?
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time next week. See you soon.